Greetings ladies and gentlemen, this is Kazu here with another Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak video. Today we have a general purpose Afflicted Longsword build which has been inspired by Caoslayer's recent video on the Recovery Up skill. So this build is essentially going to be using Recovery Up alongside a lot of other quality of life and defensive skills to give you the sustain you need in combat against high level afflicted monsters while also still having the offensive skills you need to kill them in under 10 minutes. Now for those of you who don't know, Recovery Up is a skill that increases the amount of healing you get from healing items and effects, and it actually works on Blood Blight to amplify the healing that you get out of it so that you can heal back to full health with relative ease by staying offensive against a monster even if you get hit, as you can see here in this clip. Alright, so now I'm going to throw up the build on screen so you can take a look at the equipment and the armor skills. And starting with our weapon, we have the Wyvern Blade Luna from Gold Raytheon. Now this has a base raw of 330, it has a white sharpness, 39 poison, plus 10% affinity, a level 3 decoration, as well as a level 2 rampage decoration slot. So this is a pretty well-rounded weapon and it's perfect for being general purpose against any type of afflicted monster that you want to hunt. If we take a look at our equipment, we have the Silver Soul Helm from Silver Athlos, the Malzeno Mail, which is going to give us 1 point of blood right. We have the Malzeno Braces, and then we have the Channeler Obi Spring. Now this is a female only armor. The male equivalent of this armor piece is called the Utsushi True Tacits Hidden. So that's going to give you the exact same armor skills as this armor piece, but it's again only available for men, the Utsushi one, and the Channeler's Obi is going to be only available for women or female characters. Then we have the Silver Soul Greaves as our last armor piece. Again, this is going to be from Silver Athlos. So we have some new gear from Title Update 1 that's going to be making this build more efficient in terms of slots and skills. And then lastly, for our talisman, we have a Quick Sheath level 3 2/2 slot talisman. Now this should be obtainable by endgame, but if not, you can probably make do with a Quick Sheath, a level 2 and 2/2 slot talisman or equivalent. So if you take a look at our skills on screen for the armor skills, what makes this build so great, at least in my opinion, is that we're going to have a total of 100% affinity because the Agitator is going to give us plus 15%, Crit Eye is going to give us plus 5 for 20%, Max Might is going to give us another 20%, and then Wyvern Blade Luna has a base bonus affinity of 10%. So when the monster is enraged and your stamina bar is full, you're going to have a full 100% affinity, which is actually going to be for majority of the fight. It will be for probably 75% to 80% of the fight, depending on how aggressive you are and how much you can maintain both your stamina gauge as well as the monster's afflicted state. You're going to be getting pretty much 80 to 100% affinity throughout the entire hunt. Then we have, of course, our attack boost level 4 for a nice chunk of bonus attack, crit boost level 3, weakness exploit level 3. We have our basic utility skills such as Wirebug Whisper level 3 and Quick Sheath level 3, which are essential for the longsword. And then for our defensive skills, you can see that we have Divine Blessing, Recovery Up, Defiance, as well as Redirection, Blood Right, and Quick Breath. So Redirection is an optional skill. You definitely don't need it, but it's nice to have on the longsword because you're so reliant on your Silkbind bug moves that using Redirection every now and then to get those Silkbind bugs back, or the wire bugs back rather, is going to be extremely beneficial. And that also synergizes in part with the Quick Breath skill, which is going to give you a nice heal and remove status effects. Okay, so now we're going to go over our equipment augmentations. For our Wyvern Blade Luna, we have the attack boost augment, and then for the rest of our armor pieces, we're mainly looking for slots. However, I do have a pretty good augment on the Malzeno Mail, which is Crit Eye, and then on the Silver Soul Greaves, which is going to be attack boost. However, you don't need those augments if we take a look at the augmentation tables from Detail Nor. So if you've seen my previous video on armor augmentation, you'll be more familiar with that, but if not, I'll leave a link in the description below. To summarize, basically there are different tiers of armor skills, things like attack boost, weakness exploit, crit boost. Those are going to be in the first tier, which is the hardest to get and roll for. So you're very rarely going to see these armor skills, and when you do, you probably should take them. But then on the opposite end, we have the lowest tier skills, and these are going to be a lot of the one-shot skills that you don't really care about most of the time. However, for this build, we actually do want Divine Blessing, Recovery Up, and also Defense Boost is not bad. We'll touch more on Divine Blessing versus Defense Boost afterwards. But yeah, these are 2-slot skills that you can very easily get from augmentation, so you can just augment those into the build to save on slots, and then decorate with the crit eye or crit boost or attack boost decorations. You can just slot those in while using the augmentations for the defensive skills, so it's pretty flexible in that sense. When it comes to augmentation, there's also Spirit Bird's Call that you can get, which is a unique skill that's pretty helpful for long hunts, which is typically what an afflicted hunt will end up being. And then, of course, another skill I would like to mention is Fortify. You can either decorate this in or you can get it from augmentation, but if you find yourself dying multiple times in an afflicted hunt, Fortify actually will give you the hugest amount of stat buffs that you can possibly get from a single skill, so do consider adding that into your sets as well if you find yourself having difficulty with afflicted, especially high level afflicted. Okay, so now we're going to very briefly go over defense boost versus divine blessing. So in a Reddit post, Elfsyong left a comment that actually shows the damage calculations comparing defense boost level 7 versus divine blessing level 3 and the expected damage reduction you'll get from either one. Now you can see it's actually very similar. However, in his calculation for divine blessing, he was showing it having a 25% chance to proc, whereas the wiki says that it has a 40% chance to proc. So I'm not sure which one it is. If it is 40%, then it is going to have a significantly higher expected damage reduction over defense boost level 7 if your defense is around 650 to 700 defense. But even then, it's still going to be marginally higher without the 40% at 25%. It's still going to be just a little bit higher. So I would say go for Divine Blessing. It only has 3 levels, so it's actually a lot easier to augment for. The slots are going to be pretty much the same for either one. You can use a 4 slot and a 2 slot and then get the skill maxed out. But because it's easier to augment, definitely go for Divine Blessing with this build. So if you're curious what kind of switch skills we're using, it's mainly going to be the Special Sheath playstyle. I'll put the red and blue scroll up on screen, and that's because we have max might in the build rather than crit draw. For skill order of prioritization, our core skills we're looking for is Weakness Exploit 3, Attack Boost level 4, Crit Boost level 3, Quick Sheath level 3, and Wirebug Whisper level 3. Secondarily, we want Agitator level 5, Max Might 2, and Critical Eye 1, but those aren't necessary if you don't have the augment or space for it. Looking at the defensive skills that we want to prioritize, that's going to be Recovery Up, which is super huge for getting the health bonus from Blood Blight, as well as Divine Blessing. And then if you can fit in Defiance or Stun Resist, that would also be great. Redirection and Quick Breath are completely optional. So for anyone wondering why we're using the Wyvern Blade Luna in this build as our general purpose build weapon, that's mainly going to be based upon dreamingsuntide's most recent video on how to compare status, raw, and element damage in Monster Hunter. So I'm going to leave a link in the description for that as well. Do check it out if you're curious on how to actually compare effective damage values for different longsword weapons. But we can take a look at his spreadsheet here, and we're mainly just going to be paying attention to the effective damage values, which you can see he has one for the element, poison, and blast categories. So we're going to see the highest effective damage weapon for that category based on the type of element and elemental weaknesses of the monster. And if we take a look, the Wyvern Blade Luna is actually the best for poison in general, and its damage values, its EFD values, are going to be pretty comparable to the elemental EFDs in matchups where element is not as big of a deal. There's obviously going to be ones like Gosvarog, Daimyo Hermitar, where they have significant elemental weaknesses, and in those cases the effective damage value of the element weapon is going to be a lot higher than if you're using raw or poison or blast. However, in general, the Wyvern Blade Luna is actually pairing up quite nicely in most of these matchups. Now, of course, this doesn't compare things like the Desperate Roar utilizing crit draw to have a very optimized raw damage build, but in general, the Wyvern Blade Luna is going to be the go-to, especially against afflicted monster. We can take a look at the Poison Weps tab here, and you can see the effective damage, or the EFR, based on the Sunderer, which is one of the highest EFR weapons baseline. The Luna is only going to be 1% weaker, but it has 39 poison, so it's going to easily make up for the lack of EFR, or the loss in EFR, with the poison damage. That's going to give you maybe, 10%, 15% damage over the course of an afflicted hunt, maybe even more depending on how long it takes for you to hunt. So Luna is going to be the go-to for this build. Alright, so that's going to wrap it up for the video. Hopefully you kind of have a good idea now of why these choices were optimized specifically for an afflicted build. So again, like things like recovery up 3, please do try that out. It's going to make a huge difference because it increases the healing you get from the blood blight debuff when you get hit by a monster, an afflicted monster. It also works on just potions in general and blood right, so it's super nice to have for afflicted hunts specifically. And then of course, using the Wyvern Blade Luna, we're going to have the poison damage, which is going to dot them over time. And then we're also going to be having just pretty good damage from our offensive skills, while also having the utility and defensive bonuses from our other skills that are in the build. And having a good balance between the two. You want to have a good balance of offense and defense if you want to hunt comfortably against afflicted monsters. If you have too many defensive skills, it's going to take way too long to hunt. And if you have too many offensive skills, you're going to find yourself carding quite a lot. Again, if you still find yourself carding even with this setup, try out Fortify. That's going to help out a ton. And overall, you know, afflicted monsters, the anomaly investigations, I'm liking all of the content added by Title Update 1. I do kind of wish there was more still yet. Like, I'm waiting on A6 and whatever new monsters they want to introduce in the next Title Update. But yeah, that should be it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, do let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. It does help out the channel, and I appreciate the support from you guys. Look forward to more videos later. I'm still working on the elemental longsword build guide video. I haven't even worked on the video yet, but I'm just trying out all the different longswords and really just messing around with it, trying to see what's more optimal, looking at calculations, things like that. It's taking kind of too much time. I don't even know if I'm going to come out with this video, but hopefully I do come out with the video in the next 2 days. We shall see. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.